What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and professor of happiness and joy. And I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories that we tell each other, and more importantly, those stories that we tell quietly up here to ourselves. So you can join me and my special guests as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online on your mobile device, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. And tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time to get real stories and real tips on how to turn your story and your life around. And evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. And hello, everybody. So excited to be here today. And I can't wait to introduce my special guest, Jodie, who's waiting in the wings. Hello, Jodie.
Hello, Carrie.
And we are going to have an incredible talk. Jodie and I met through a conference that we both attended. And it's just, I love meeting women who just do powerful things. And I love talking about stories. So we're going to talk about Jodie's story and how she got where she is. And, we all kind of run into stumbling blocks in our stories, right? Sometimes we have those stories and they're not really positive. Those are those quiet little stories that we tell ourselves that end up holding us back from really following our dreams. So we're going to get into that today, and we're going to talk about a lot of really great things. And before I get started, let me tell you a little bit about Jodie. It's always fun when somebody else reads your bio. It's also a little nerve-wracking. So Jodie Gerulaitis this is what's amazing about Jodie. She has been at the same company for 31 years. And I want to highlight that because that is so cool and unusual. And she calls herself an energetic vice president of community relations. I love that at Country Bank. And so what's really cool about this is I love what these community bankers, and I feel like it's sort of a new thing. I mean, bankers have done this for a long time, but really having that dedicated role. She's a community banker and a marketing professional, and she's passionate about working in communities and supporting the meaningful programs. She's also enthusiastic about educating students and adults on the importance of understanding their finances. And I love that. We're going to talk a little bit about that, Jodie, because that is super cool. And I feel like it's what the world needs, right? It's the class that we didn't get that we really, really need to understand how money works and how it affects our lives. So her role allows her the privilege to work directly with nonprofits to support their efforts in the many areas of community outreach that are offered throughout the region. And I'm just going to name a few that she works with. Friends of the Homeless, Habitat for Humanity, Salvation Army, BHN Valley Human Services, United Way, and many other great organizations within our communities. She's honored to be a part of the change to make our communities a better place to live and work. Jodie, welcome to Look for the Good.
Thank you so much, Carrie. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an absolute honor. And I have to just add, meeting you for the first time at the conference and see you up there with your guitar, I instantly just felt connected with you. And I think it was during your presentation that I was instantly looking to connect with you on LinkedIn. So before you were even finished, there was an invite in your inbox because I knew that we definitely had a connection and a shared energy. So
I love that. Thank you, Jodie. That's so sweet. And yeah, that was a really cool conference at the Women's Leadership Conference sponsored by the Chamber. And I was really moved too, just taking a look. I love the community outreach, right? Like that is so meaningful. And how can we use banking and finances to improve everybody's lives, and when I read the part about the education piece that you did, That's really, really just a soft spot for me in my heart. So that really, just teaching people about that, like I said, that's the class we never got, is so important. Thank you for doing that. And how do you feel that's impacted, like working with schools and stuff, just not them, but also yourself?
Yeah, thank you for the bio that you read, but anybody that knows me personally knows that the financial education is definitely my true passion. Through my journey here at Country Bank, at one point, my sole position was financial education officer. So my job, there weren't many of me out there with that title that had an organization that solely supported financial education.
Mhm.
You're starting to see them pop up here and there, but at the time that's what I did. And so I was able to go out to many, many schools and reach thousands of students through the different programs that Country Bank offers. And we know that it makes a difference because, like you said, students are not receiving this information currently. And I've personally been to the State House multiple times advocating for state mandating financial literacy. We hope that Massachusetts could be that 26th state to offer, to make it mandatory as a graduation requirement. And, we have a lot of work to do, but there are many of us throughout the state of Massachusetts that are advocating for this to say, even if it's just one class for students to just get exposure to some of the terms. And it's not a choice of whether or not you're going to be exposed to it. You are going to be exposed to these topics. So we do what we can. We definitely make an impact in all of the communities that we serve. Our programs continue to grow and expand, and we're proud to solely sponsor all of them. Not only are they members from Country Bank that volunteer, but it's also members from our community. We reach out to our business community who also wants to make that difference. So a lot of our community partners will hear about one specific program that we have is called Credit for Life, and it's offered to high school seniors where they are given a credit score. They're given a budget, basically a salary that reflects that budget, and they have to make financial choices based on the lifestyle that they want to live. So we let them, say, oh, I would like to be a guidance counselor. And so they're given their salary, they're given a credit score at random. It could be high, it could be low. And they understand what that means. They're given a choice to answer some financial literacy questions to maybe give them a little bump in their score if they need it. But it's really giving them exposure where, they're not going to pass or fail. They're not going to wreck their credit, but they're going to walk around to these 12 booths and make choices that they've never had to make before. And they have to think, what kind of car do I want to drive? Where do I want to live? Do I want a condo? Do I want a house? What kind of food plan do I want? Do I plan on dining out? Am I going to cook at home? All of these things add up, and they visit a reality check wheel and they get to spin it. And, do they get a bonus at work, or do they need to, replace a tire on their car? So it's just, we've won a gold award for this program. It's really a great time. And, as I mentioned, we're expanding the program because once you've either volunteered or you've been a student, it just word travels, and parents have called just saying, thank you. Thank you for, because, parents try, but your kid's not always going to listen to you.
Yeah.
So business professionals in the room telling them, okay, well, let's look at this choice. Was that a wise choice or not? So I bring it up only because it spreads so much knowledge. Not only it's a rewarding experience for the students, but it's also a rewarding experience for the volunteers.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
they really get to interact, and no matter what field they're in, they can add value.
I think that's really cool. And like they say, it takes a village, right?
Amen.
Right? It's the community coming together. And I love that other businesses are getting involved too, because I mean, there's so much knowledge they have to share about,
Yes.
running a business or being an entrepreneur. And I love that reality wheel. Like it's a kick in the pants.
And there's a
tire.
fun booth. So, we
Ooh.
can't forget about that. So we have it all jazzed out with Hawaiian decorations, and students get to go over and they can buy a pet. Do they want a dog?
Ooh.
Well, that comes with expenses. Do they want to take that all-inclusive paid vacation to Cancun? Maybe, but just know you can't return it. So if you haven't picked where you're going to live yet, and you don't know what you're driving, keep that in mind. So yeah, it's, for example, our insurance booth. I don't really know anything about insurance. So we have our insurance professionals come in and they can help students kind of navigate the different plans that are out there so they understand.
Yeah,
how they work.
that's so cool. And when you put it in a fun environment like that, it doesn't feel like learning, right? It's like experiential learning,
Mhm.
kinesthetic learning, which is the best way to learn. It's like real life skills.
It's true. We've been offering it for over 10 years now, or 11 years, and
Wow.
students are just so engaged. And, whether someone has a 520 credit score hanging off their lanyard and someone else has a 780, chances are you might see those two rooming together because the one who has the 520 might need a little financial support. And, they take it serious, which is really great. And they are grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. So cool. There's nothing like that type of learning. I want to put my kids in that program. It's like the real life. There's nothing like that. And how can they think about and anticipate those things? They've lived through us, but not really because we handle it on our own, right? They haven't really experienced. So how else can they get that real life experience, right?
It's true. And I think you and I grew up in a different generation where, we didn't have 2-day prime and we didn't have, you can snap a picture and it pulls it right up and you can have it dropped off by a drone. I mean, everything is so high demand and instant gratification. And so it really, credit for life. Yes, it's about budgeting, but it's really about teaching kids needs versus wants and just having a budget, no matter what your salary is. I find that some students that maybe have that low credit score and that low salary, they learn the most at the fair because they realize they don't ever want to be in that situation. And some of them are 17, 18, they're in the driver's seat at this point. So, we start educating students as early as preschool and kindergarten with the different programs that we offer. We really promote
Wow.
savings at that point. We have a fantastic program. We partner with Greenlight, which is a free debit card for kids. They can't get into trouble with this debit card. It allows parents to assign chores, reward an allowance, and it's all done digitally because prior to offering our money school program, we used to go into the schools and collect deposits on a monthly basis, twice a month. And it was a very successful program for us. But, when COVID hit in 2020, it really allowed us to sit back and reflect and say, you know what, we really want to meet the kids where they're at. And we want to have them understand how they're going to be banking in the future. So we sat back, we revised the program to make it really cool, cutting edge and educational. And again, meeting those students where they're at. So it's just another great opportunity to interact with not just the schools that we partner with, but with all of our youth throughout our markets to say we have a slew of programs to meet you where you're at. So whether you're in preschool, kindergarten, you want to learn about savings, maybe you're in middle school, you want to get this debit card that teaches you how to manage your money a little bit more from your chores. But then we can meet you later in life with a student checking or a savings account, and we're going to be there with you for your journey, which is really great.
I love that. And you're giving them that feeling of independence, which all those kids want, but they're not really sure how to get it. And it always has a financial piece to that independence, right? So you're teaching them to save money. I love that because, like you said, there's so much coming at them, so much to buy, so much access. Have to have it now. Have to have an upgrade on the phone. Everything in this world is so externally faced, and you're giving them a chance to look inside and say, "Hey, wait a second. What do I really want?" And to
I
kind
have
of
two girls. I have an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. One's a
Mhm.
saver, one's a spender.
Yeah,
So
we've got the same
I can
thing.
I see both ends of the spectrum. So
Yeah.
one could care less and wants to save her money, and the other one is very driven by chores because she knows the second she gets it, she's already got it earmarked for something.
But it motivates them just with something
Sure.
different, right?
For
Um,
sure.
but I love that you're creating a customer for life too. You're investing in these kids, you're investing in their future, you're teaching them what they need to know, and you're really setting them up for success. I mean, that is a beautiful thing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we
Yeah.
feel that way. And, the community responds well to it because, sometimes we always say talking about money is never easy. I don't care what situation that you're in. And so sometimes I've had hundreds of conversations with parents over the years, and some of them have even shed a few tears to me while they're talking to me saying, thank you for offering these programs because it's hard for me to talk to my child. Maybe they're a single mom or whatnot, and they're not in the financial situation that they thought that they were going to be in. And so they were embarrassed by it, or they didn't know how to explain it to their child. And I always just tell them honesty is the best policy. And if we can provide tools to say, maybe there were some mistakes made in the past, but it doesn't define your future. So if we can provide these tools, because they'll tell me, I never had programs like this when I was growing up. If I had a dime for every time I heard that. So it just really
Okay.
makes us feel good to know that when we provide resources to students, parents are reviewing it as well with their child, and it just opens that door to continue to have those conversations.
I love that because like you said, we didn't have that. Like my parents really didn't, they're not gonna tell me about all their financial stuff. They were more private about that kind of stuff.
That's right.
So I kind of learned on my own, but this is where those money stories, all my work is about stories. Those money stories come from, right? It was sort of handed to us inadvertently by a well-meaning person, but if you grew up with the story that money doesn't grow on trees and you have to gotta really bust your butt to get what you want, or whatever
Yep.
those stories are, or oh, only the lucky people get money. Whatever that little story, it gets embedded. So I love that you're working with these kids and you're exposing them to different perspectives about money.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can have a negative feeling, like you said, if they grew up in an environment that it was either, not talked about or not discussed, again, the more that you can communicate with your child, we've had parents have to say, you know what, we have a little extra money in the budget, we can go to the movies this weekend. Great. Or maybe there's a week that you say to them, you know what, this week isn't the week, we have to save a little bit more before we can do that. And so we're always offering different rewards and different programs in the schools, whether it be movie tickets, gift cards, different things to just provide those opportunities. And again, students are very driven by rewards. So it works, but I mean, it's sad, Carrie. It's really, really sad to know how much we have done in the community. And there are still some students, when I ask them at senior year of high school, does anybody know what credit means? I mean, they still don't understand it. So we took it a step further, and a few years back at WPI in Worcester, we offered a program called the Next Step. And so it was for college students to say, okay, well, let's take it a step further. In high school, you can kind of play around with it a little bit. You're going to be going off to college or the workforce. You have some time. But in college, when you graduate, I mean, there it is. It's right in front of you. So we gave students the opportunity to pull their credit report right at the fair. And we had someone there to kind of go through it with them. So they understood what things meant, what their credit score meant. We gave them the option, okay, if you lived in Worcester in this size apartment, this is how much it would cost. Whereas if you lived in Boston, these are things you need to think about. It's so much more. You might have to pay for parking. You might, just to give them an understanding of truly what is coming in their very near future. So it was a program that was open to all of their students. We had no idea what to expect. We had over 300 students show up at 4:00 in the afternoon. Yes, we did have free pizza and free t-shirts, but we were running out of booklets. We had to start taking booklets from some of our volunteers because it just really was eye-opening to see that students are craving this information and they're looking for trusted partners out there that can deliver the message, and like you said, in a fun and educational way, but in a relatable way, so you can meet them where they're at, that it's not so high level that they're like, I don't even know what that means, I can't relate to that. So we're constantly gauging feedback from our students. I'm constantly reevaluating our programs and just, again, focusing on that, making it relevant so it's understandable.
I love that. I love that Next Step. That's so brilliant because, yeah, having a daughter that just graduated from college, it's like a real, hold on a second. Everything was so pre-planned for me.
Yes.
They knew how many course credits they needed, what they needed. They were so goal focused on getting out of school. There really is not a whole lot of time to think about what happens afterwards.
That's it. We've been invited back to schools that we've worked with in the past to say, can you come work with our alumni? Whether they're from a wealthier background or they, whatever the case may be, they need it. And so we've been invited back to say, we want to continue to provide resources to our alumni. So we've gone in and taught programs on, okay, where are you at? Let's try to help you out with this. Or even, down to interviewing skills. At that point, when they graduate college, they're going to be going on interviews. They have no idea what to expect. So it's, firm handshake, making eye contact, being yourself, being on time, all of those things. So we review that with them to just any way we can get them prepared and ready for what's next is.
I love that. Yeah. Those are basic business, things that we just know that I feel like we learned like a really long time ago because I started working when I was like 11 or 13, my first babysitting job at 11, right? So, just having that exposure.
Yeah, and to your point, some have exposure. I mean, some schools do offer a personal finance course, and that's great. So if we can just enhance on that, that's what's important. So maybe they heard it a few years ago. I've gone into a middle school, and I had a 4-week class where at the time, I taught students how to write out a check and make a budget. I had parents calling me saying, thank you for telling them to turn their light off because they didn't realize that it costs money and, all of these things. Well, CNN ended up picking up the story overnight somehow and it went nationwide. I came into like 100 emails the next day of people saying, can we get these great resources to review with and of course, we were more than happy to send them out in any way that we can. So to your point, yes, there are some financial courses out there. And if we have an opportunity to go in and teach some lessons, we do. But for those schools that have none of it, they're very grateful for us to assist.
I bet they are. I'm so grateful that you guys exist. This is really amazing. We're going to break really quick, everybody. I know that you're loving this, so come right back. We'll be right back with Jodie. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having such an amazing conversation. I just love this. Jodie from Country Bank is sharing the most incredible stuff that she's doing in the community for our children. Like, it is so powerful. Thank you very much for doing that. And I love how that whole thing went wild on CNN. I mean, you said you were getting you're sending out packets all over the country to help these other people. I love it.
Yeah, I thought it was spam coming in my inbox. And it's just, that's the great, like you said, of PR. It can be such a benefit to us. So we were able to reach so many other communities through that story that aired. So it was an honor for us to be able to provide the resources.
I love that. So we're talking about young kids and helping them with their finances. And you've been there 31 years. So I think you must have started like when you were 12.
Yeah, I think so. I was 15, but close enough. I'll take it.
Tell us that story, how you got started with Country Bank so long ago.
I say all of this truly with a grateful heart, and what a journey it has been. At 15, you're in high school, you're looking for a job, you need to start saving for a car. And my parents made me do that. They definitely made me start saving for a car, which was, I get it. I was going to be getting one of my mother's cars that she was moving on to a different one, but she was like, okay, let's agree on an amount and let's have you work for it. And that was a very important skill. So at 15, I started here at Country Bank. I'm absolutely going to date myself right now. I was the filing clerk.
I love it, the filing clerk.
Filing
clerk. Papers.
Yes, and these big rows of all these files, and I used to do all of the filing, but it was such a great job because I was involved with sports and school council, and I was the vice president of the class. So it was just, there was a lot of things that I was involved in, but the flexibility of the bank, and especially being right after school, it just, it helped my schedule. So I would even come in on weekends, and I'm not gonna lie, senior year, it was really tricky when all my friends were going to the mall and doing all these different things. And if I knew I had to study for a test, I just was driven at an early age to have a strong work ethic. I'm fortunate to have entered the workforce during an era where you learned from so many and you were inspired by so many. And I can honestly say that here at Country Bank, there were many individuals that just had that strong work ethic that you were just born into it. And, my mom worked here at the bank for 25 years. She ran our mortgage department.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was just, I knew it was a great place to work. And, I obviously learned a strong work ethic from both her and my dad. So it just came natural to me. And I always wanted to do well. I always wanted to just, make everyone proud. And I still.
Yeah. And following your mom's footsteps. I was just writing down before you said your mom, who inspired you the most. It sounds like your mom was an integral.
100%. My dad is a strong worker as well. They're both still working to this day because my mom won't let him sit still. And and she just loves it. She loves, helping. She actually works at a local school now and just loves to work with kids as well. But yeah, they are definitely my true inspiration. And, once I was graduating high school, it was that decision that everyone has to make, are you going to go off into college or are you going to go off into the workforce? And, I had college offers, but I also had a great offer here at the bank from our HR department. And I was like, what do I do? And I was like, you know what, this seems like a really great job to pass up. And it was going to be a full-time teller position at our local ware office. And I was like, you know what, I'll try it. And if it doesn't work out, I can always go to school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was probably the best decision I ever made in life because once I became the teller, instantly I started taking classes that the bank pays a certain educational benefit for its employees. And, Carrie, what a ride that has been from the moment I started full-time I started taking classes through what's called the Center for Financial Training, all paid for from Country Bank. And I became certified in various areas of the banking industry. And that was a great experience. And then I was given the opportunity, this is again through my journey here. Once I became head teller, senior teller at age 25, I became the manager of that banking center at West Street. So at 25 years old, I was getting married, I was building a house, and I became a manager of 14 women down at the same
Wow.
office I was working at. Yeah, and I loved retail. I loved working with customers. I loved my team, and it absolutely made me who I am today. I think just, again, having that diversity in the career and working with so many different individuals, it kind of prepared you for anything really in the future. At that point, I loved what I was doing, and I worked in retail for many years. And then the opportunity, I kind of looked around at the bank and I was like, where would I want to work if I ever left retail? And an opportunity came up in marketing, and I got called to the principal's office, and I knew I didn't do anything wrong, but I was like, why does HR want to see me? And they offered me that financial education position that I was talking about, where I didn't really know much about what we had. We only dabbled into about 2 schools. And I accepted the position and grew our financial literacy programs from 2 schools to over 50 that we collaborated with. I kind of was, it was hard to say no, and it was just so motivating because you knew the difference it made. So I worked in that position for many years, and I was given the opportunity to attend what's called the New England School for Financial Studies. It's a 2-year program at Babson College, and again, all paid for by the bank. You have to write 5 papers, and you have to work with other individuals within the industry, create a bank, do a presentation, and you're away from your family. I had a young family at the time, so that was definitely a challenge, but I knew that it was going to help my career. So I accepted gracefully and passed with all A's. So
Wow.
that was really great. I was also running a marathon. I run a lot of half marathons, but I was like, you know what, I need to take on a full marathon at this point while all this is going on, and traveling to Disney with my family. And I think that's where that energetic vice president title comes from in LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think I'll add a marathon in while I'm also a
Why
mom
not?
with young kids.
Writing all these papers and a few other courses. So once I was in the financial education space for a while, I was promoted to vice president of community relations. And that's where I took on a lot of what you mentioned, which is our corporate partners like the Worcester Red Sox, all of our financial education, all of our donations and volunteer hours that Country Bank does. We donate well over 1,100 hours, or all of our employees do that. We also
Wow.
donate over $1.3 million to over 500 organizations every year. So all of that is managed through my area here at the bank. And so I was so honored and surprised when I received that promotion. So after I received the promotion, I took some additional courses, because when one ends, you got to start another one. So
Of course you do.
my team was offering what's called an executive certificate. It's through their Sloan School of Management. So I proudly took those 4 classes during COVID and graduated with an executive certificate. And I also attended what's called Bank Marketing School through the American Bankers Association. So I graduated from Bank Marketing School. And lastly, I'm currently in what's called the Stonier Graduate School of Banking. That is a 3-year program. It is in Pennsylvania. So again, it's always tough to be away from your family, but it is a wonderful program, and it's from individuals all over the country. You go away for 3 years, you write your papers, you interact with so many other individuals. And I have 1 more year to go. I graduate in June of 2025, and I can't wait. It's been an interesting ride, but again, grateful for all of these opportunities. So I know that was a lot.
That is so impressive. Like seriously, like just you go above and beyond, not just with work, but personally too. And I know you're motivated and you're inspired by a lot of people. And I love that story about your mom and your dad, just really instilling that, being a hard worker in you.
It's
What
that
is
non-traditional story that you were asking about. It's, you always hear those going off to college, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great amazing journey as well. But there was that moment, I'm not going to lie, that I would probably say, and I'm sure many of your listeners are thinking this, that you always feel like you have to prove yourself, right? You have to, you're sitting in a room with those that you feel are maybe a little more educated than you. And then you realize when you show up and you sit around the table that you have a lot to offer, and don't ever, quiet your voice. And, one of you asked me about mantras earlier, and, a friend of mine, I always felt like, you're always doing this, you're always doing that. And, my friend just said to me once, let it be enough. Let it be enough. And it really resonated with me, because at the end of the day, when you put your head up on the pillow at night, you're getting pulled into a million different directions for your family, for your work. And sometimes you just have to say to yourself, let it be enough, and have some grace with yourself. Celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how small or how big they are. And just like a fitness plan or running a marathon, it doesn't happen overnight. You got to do 1 mile at a time, and you build your endurance up. But if you are so driven and you're passionate about something, nothing will stop you. Nothing.
I love that, because when that desire is big enough, nothing can get in your way. And you could have been stopped many times. You started
Yes.
so young, you decided to make that choice, the non-traditional choice. And I love that. I think that's becoming much more traditional now, and much more popular now, that people are realizing, the cost of education and really what the payback is. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that you were invested, you knew what you wanted to do, and then you could take specific courses based
Yes.
on your career, which
Yes.
is brilliant. And it makes a lot of sense, because you see these kids coming out of college with this massive debt, and they still don't know what they want to do.
Absolutely. We've even heard it themselves, that they go into one field and then they end up completely changing careers. So, if you have an opportunity to work for an employer, ask about these benefits, because if they are there, absolutely take advantage of them, because you'd be crazy not to. So
I love that. And if
great.
you look at the stats, the numbers for kids who actually take jobs based on their major is very, very low. It's under
Yes.
50%. So I love that. I love thinking outside of the box and having a new perspective. And that I just want to tell you, I had a little sticky note that I made myself after we first talked. It and says, "Let it be enough," because I
Let it
was
be.
so moved by that. I love mantras, and I love little catchphrases, positive stories that we can say to ourselves. And that's a beautiful one. And everybody listening can borrow that. We all have a little something that keeps us going.
You do. And if you're constantly busy and you're running around, you just have to take that moment, pause, reflect, and say, you know what, just celebrate today. Let it be enough, and know tomorrow, whatever it brings, you will show up. But we get caught on that wheel, and we're running and we're spinning. But, if you find that passion of something that inspires you, and I've also, tapped into resources as well. If you see someone, we always say this to, our students, if you see someone that's in a career that you're interested in pursuing, ask them questions. How did you get to where you are? And you're right. Not enough people talk about it, and they think, oh, college, college, college. And that's great. That's amazing. But it doesn't always have to be the path. There are other ways to get there, and there are other programs and other certifications that you can obtain. And there are others that I didn't mention that I've accomplished over the years. But having your employers support you, and it's not even just about paying for it. It's really, they celebrate you and they encourage you and they want you to inspire others. Well, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And they're building you up. And it's a financially sound decision. Of course, you're in banking, you're going to make a financially sound decision, right? But instead of coming out of college, not knowing what you want to do with all this debt, you are already on your path to developing a great career. And it's the feeling of being supported by a company that I think a lot of these kids long for, and they're not sure where to find it or how to get it. So that's why I love your story so much.
It's true. Yeah. And, students, they need that guidance. And if we can help provide that to them, absolutely.
Amen. We're going to end on that note real quick. We'll be right back, everybody, after a quick break from our sponsors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm here with Jodie, and we are talking about so many incredible things. And I love your story of how you got started at Country Bank and all the amazing things. And I don't know how you fit it all in, really. And then you throw in a marathon here and there and a Tough Mudder. It's just really beyond me.
Thank you.
And so one of the things that you said that I want to come back to, because I really feel like it needs to be highlighted more. You said that little mantra about don't ever quiet your voice, because you and I both went into work when we were very young. I graduated college. I started when I was 17, so I was a little bit on the younger side. And when you go into business, sometimes you feel that sort of imposter thing comes up, like, ooh, should I raise my hand? Should I, no, maybe I shouldn't say anything. I'm the new person. Or, you know, in my situation, I was the only woman on a team of, you know, a lot of men. So whatever that situation is, how do you make sure that you don't quiet that voice? How did you yourself get over that little story of, you know, maybe I'll just be quiet until I understand more about what's going on?
Yeah, great question. I think becoming an officer at such an early age, I listened. There's definitely that time in the beginning that you do a lot of listening. You want to observe, you want to listen, you want to make sure that, you understand how things, what the expectations are. But then it switches to these moments where you're like, wow, I have a really great idea, or I think this would add value. And too many times I didn't raise my hand or I didn't speak up, and then someone else would say it and everybody loved it. And I was like, oh, why, it just took those few moments where you're like, Jodie, just have confidence in yourself. And if it's not a good idea, then maybe it inspires another one from someone else. So I think there's that threshold when you just go for it. You go for it and you say, you know what, I how about this or how about that? And then when people start to hear you speaking up and start to see you wanting to participate and add that value, then it starts the new wave of
Yeah.
feeling, like you're participating.
You do, and you feel more a part of it, and you're like, wow, you start to realize that your perspective is so different than anybody else's. It's like, well, the way we approach things, you know, everybody's superpower is kind of different. And when we can add our flavor, and like you said, you know, collaboratively, it can become something better because maybe that one idea sparks somebody else's.
That's right.
And then you're on this chain of a great new idea, and it becomes this collaboration of everybody, and it creates community within your workspace.
And is it easy? No, at first. Is it intimidating? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Especially at a young age. But I think the earlier you can start to have that voice and know your audience, of course, always be prepared and know your audience. But absolutely, once you can feel comfortable doing that, it definitely is a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting over that, stopping ourselves from putting our hand up, you know, just going for it, because, you know, everything you have to offer is something that unique that maybe somebody else didn't think about.
Yes.
And like I said, it builds on each other, and then you build that trust with the group that you're working with. And that's what it's all about, really. It's just our brain that wants to stop us from doing that. So when you can just step out before you think you're ready, I feel like
Yes.
that's really the secret, to just do it anyways.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Like Nike, just do it.
Literally, that's my favorite mantra. So other than let it be enough and have grace, it's my favorite mantra because there are
Really?
those moments, whether it's personally or professionally. My husband would laugh right now if he just heard you say that, because even with the kids, they start to think about something or whatever it is. It's like, just do it. Just do it. Don't think about it.
Don't think,
Just
don't get in your head.
don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. As
Yeah,
Tony Robbins says, in your head, you're dead.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Or, Mel Robbins says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just
I love
you gotta
that.
go. Yeah.
I love that. And so let's go one step further. So when you do it, because you said this too, and I think it's really important, worth mentioning again, you need to celebrate that you did it. We forget, we just get on to the next thing. We're achievers. We go, oh, we don't take the moment to say, hey, hold on a second. And Mel Robbins, high-fiving yourself in the mirror too, as well. I did that. I did it. I stepped out of my comfort zone. Or even the fact that you just made a decision. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. You know, you need to spend the time to celebrate those moments of what you did.
It's so true. I know we were talking earlier, even on a personal level, hiking the New Hampshire 4,000 footers. Like you said, you reach one summit and you're like, okay, that was 21 miles. What's next? Is there another one that's even longer? If you have that personal, way of always wanting to achieve more, that's great. It's just going to continue to inspire you. But yes, I think it is very important, whether it's a small hurdle or a big hurdle, absolutely celebrate every moment. And I think we just get so caught up on what's next, or I didn't do this good enough, or I could have done better. No. Just stop that right there and just celebrate everything that you do. If you sit back and you write down everything you do in one single day, whether you're running around with the kids or you're grocery shopping and cooking and attending events for your company and all of this stuff, you just have to, again, going back to have that grace and just celebrate the small and big accomplishments because they all matter.
They really do. And what you're doing from the perspective of, you want to talk about law of attraction or what you're putting out into the universe,
yes,
it's a real thing. You are saying to the universe, yes, I want more of that. Yes,
and nothing will stop you. I love this, Carrie. This is why you and I connect so well. So I'm big on vision boards, and I'm big on, not that I necessarily have one right now, but just visually the laws of attraction, I think is truly something. So if you have that passion, that visualization, it will happen. And, you know, it may take time. Every journey that I've mentioned to you, I mean, look at what I just said. It'll be 31 years in September that I've been here at the bank. Things do not happen overnight by any means, but you just continue to be driven, passionate, and patient and inspired, and it will all fall into place.
So true. And that gratitude is so important, you know, to really just keep reinforcing that in yourselves, because you can always, it's just the way the human mind is designed, right? We can have 5 things that are going great, but that one little thing that we're not happy, or that one thing that somebody said, our mind wants to get hung up on, because that's what it does. But when you can override that with the gratitude and just looking at all the other things that are working well, that's how you get where you are. And I love holding that strong vision of what you want for your future. And I also think it's really important to have a role model, right? It sounds like you've been surrounded by a lot of really positive role models, starting back in your home with your parents and your mom in particular. Who is your role model today? What do you see around you in your environment today that really inspires you?
Yeah, I definitely have, you know, role models in the industry, whether they're, you know, an Instagram, you know, follower that I have, whether there's personal or professional reasons that you feel connected and inspired by someone. Within the organization, you know, I have a wonderful boss that inspires me because she allows me to be who I am, and she, you know, trusts the decisions that I make and knows that I always have the bank's best interest in mind. And then also, recently back in April, our former CFO, Mary McGovern, was promoted to president of our organization of Country Bank. So it's our first female president ever. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 175th anniversary. So she became our president. And then just this August 1st, she is now officially our CEO. So we are all so excited to be working under her leadership and to be able to break that glass ceiling and have Mary McGovern as our president and CEO, the first time in Country Bank history. She is someone that since the day she started at the bank, and I worked on all of those financial papers that I was talking to you about when I met with Mary. She is so easygoing and so relatable and just explains things in a way that anybody could understand them. So she was a true inspiration for me, because some of these papers were definitely intimidating when you don't work in that specific area in the bank. And she was a great asset to me to help me understand things a little bit better and write them. So, you know, between, as I mentioned, my boss, Shelley Regan, as well as Mary McGovern, they've been some great inspiration to me.
That's amazing. Wow. I mean, think of the timing. It's your 175 years. That's amazing,
Yes,
right?
next year.
And then you
Yes.
get your first woman president CEO. That is really something. That is really amazing. I love that.
Yeah, we're really excited. Really, really excited.
And the message it sends to young girls, right, in the community, when they can see that like you said, breaking the glass ceiling. I absolutely love that. I think it's so powerful, especially in banking. It is really that kind of it's a very male dominated industry.
And she deserves it. She deserves it. She has amazing ideas, and she's super supportive to all employees. So everybody's just really excited about it.
That is so, so wonderful. Yeah, that is really incredible. So you've got some amazing role models. If you've got younger people listening, or even people who are thinking of making a change, what's a tip that you would give them? One thing they could do to make their lives a little better, or to follow their dreams a little bit more every day.
You know, I'd be remiss. There's one more thing I'd love to add. I truly
Absolutely.
am. I'm sorry, Carrie. At the end of the day, I truly am inspired by my children, my girls. I love them more than life itself. And they are also very driven, straight A students, and they inspire me every day to be a better person. So that would be the utmost importance to me. I always want to be a good role model to them. I always want them to look up to me and to be that mom that they remember as a hard worker, but also very present in their lives, you know, with soccer games and supporting dance and all the things that they're involved in. And I just have to mention that because they do continue to inspire me every day.
I love that. I feel like I have 2 girls too, and
Yeah,
I
I'm sure
feel
you feel the same.
I absolutely feel the same. Mine are a little bit older, but I feel like they have so much to teach me. Like, I don't think I know everything. I'm learning every single day. But our
100%.
kids are here to teach us these lessons in a lot of ways, right? And when we can, like you said, listen and stop and be present with them,
Absolutely.
there's so much wisdom that they come here with.
Absolutely. It's that being present in every moment that you're in. But to answer your question that you asked earlier, what is one thing that you could do differently is just going back to that, don't shy away from opportunities. And I think if you're lost and you're not sure, maybe you've been doing something for a long time and you're just not feeling connected with it anymore, take that moment to just kind of reflect and find out what your true passions are. And don't shy away from opportunities. Continue to have grace with yourself. Celebrate those small moments and remember to always tell yourself to let it be enough.
I love that. You summarized that so absolutely beautifully. I told you, you got to have your own financial show.
Thank you so much. We are working on it, so hopefully sooner than later.
I love that. Those are amazing words to live by. And you've been such an inspiration. I loved having you on the show here today. And I really hope that people listen and then maybe they go back and listen again, because inside your words, there's a lot of gems of wisdom, and the way you present things and your absolute passion for life and what you're doing, and just being there for yourself and being present to those around you and creating community everywhere you go is really, really inspirational and touches my heart. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Carrie. Without passion, I feel like we are nothing. So if you just got to find out what that is for you and let it be the driver. But I can't thank you enough. This was so much fun and you're an inspiration to me. So thank you for having me on today.
Thank you so much, Jodie. Thanks for coming on. And I say to people all the time, it's never too late. So if you're inspired by Jodie's story, it's never too late. I don't care how old you are or how young you are, whatever you think your limitations are. It is never too late to be that which you want to be, or as I always say, to live your best story.
You want to hike that mountain, you want to run that marathon, you want to, get a promotion at work, you want to take a vacation with your family, whatever it is, just do it.
Absolutely. I love it. Just do it. We're going to end on that note, everybody. And thank you again, Jodie, for coming and sharing all your words of wisdom with us today. I know my listeners are going to get so much out of this. And again, remember, everybody, it is never too late to live your best story. It be well. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.